Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Stormwater Creek Podcast. Today we've got Jeremy Ullman with King Eider Adventures on, up in Alaska. Actually, I think he said he leaves in a couple days here, but Jeremy, introduce yourself.
Hi, how you guys doing? I'm Jeremy Ullman, owner of King Eider Adventures. My outfit's on St. Paul Island in Alaska.
Gotcha.
I'm just in Michigan now, getting ready to head up for the season.
Is that kind of home base until season?
It is, yeah. I spend about half the year in Michigan and about half the year in Alaska. Right now I'm going to guide on the Naknek River in King Salmon, Alaska. Do fly fishing out there for trout and salmon, char, a bunch of different fish.
Oh yeah, so you do it all.
And then once duck season starts September 1st, I do some duck hunting out there, mostly just puddle ducks for all of September. And then I come back here in October and do diver hunts here on Lake St. Clair and sea duck hunts on Lake Huron. Then I go back up to Alaska once our season ends here in Michigan and do the King Eiders and Harlequin and Old Squaw up there.
What is the season on those ducks up in Alaska, sea ducks?
It opens up actually in October, but it doesn't get good. The King Eiders really don't show up till about Christmas, about a week before Christmas. So we take the first group of hunters the day after Christmas, and then it closes January 22nd.
Gotcha.
Short season there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Short season there.
Interesting. So, say I book a hunt with you. How long is a hunt? Sea duck hunt. Week?
Usually 4 or 5 days.
Gotcha.
It really depends on the flight a lot, but typically 4 or 5 days.
Gotcha.
For how, so like we live in Dallas, so for us to be able to get up there, what would that travel look like?
Yeah, how do we get from, so DFW is clearly a major hub. How do we get from DFW to St. Paul Island?
First, you'd fly to Anchorage. I'm not sure if there's a layover between Texas and Anchorage.
Sure.
Sometimes they stop in Seattle, and then you go from Seattle. That's what I got to do from Michigan. But you can get any commercial flight from Dallas to Anchorage.
Sure.
And then once you get in Anchorage, most guys typically get there the day before and spend the night in Anchorage. You stay at a hotel and relax, see Anchorage a little bit, sightsee if they want, and then fly out to the island the next morning. There used to be commercial flights that would fly between Anchorage and St. Paul, but with the whole COVID thing, Raven Air went bankrupt now a couple weeks ago with everything going on. Before that, it was Penn Air, but now it's just charter flights. So you got to book a private charter flight, and then basically all the hunters that hunt with me will go on the same flight from Anchorage to St. Paul and St. Paul to Anchorage.
Gotcha. What is
So
it?
everybody splits.
So everybody's kind of splits it. Do you?
Yeah, and that flight, flight from Anchorage to St. Paul is it'll be between $550 and $650 a person.
Oh, that's
depends on the charter. But
that's not horrible.
yeah, usually. No, it's not cheap. But
no, it's not cheap, but it's not.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'm not having a private charter.
You're also not flying into New York City. So.
Yeah, you're not flying DFW to Atlanta.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The St. Paul airport itself is very tiny.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's kind of like the airport in Abilene.
I was just about to say that. So there's a tiny town about 2.5 hours from Dallas called Abilene. It's not tiny. It's small, but not tiny. My wife went to school there, lived there for a long time. It was you who this happened to, right, Abe?
Oh, yeah.
You tell the rest of the story. So I'm very familiar with Abilene, and Abe has a great experience at Abilene Airport because it's also tiny.
Yeah. I was out doing, my day job was just doing the inspections on some properties, and decided, was going to flew into Midland, Odessa, which is another little, kind of a decent size.
There's oil out there, so it's more important.
Yeah, big oil part of Texas. And then rented a car and then drove to Abilene to finish up some of the stuff. And then flew out of Abilene. So we were like, well, we'll just take the rental car and early and We had a couple hours to kill before our flight, so we'll just take the rental car, drop it off. We'll just sit in the airport, and I'm sure there's like a Chili's or something we can go
Somebody
to.
has a Miller Lite.
Yeah, get a beer or just chill out, And we got there and we dropped the rental car off. Should have known the fact that we could walk from the rental car to the airport was the first sign. And then got there and walked in, and they were like, "Airport's closed, boys." We're like, "What?"
Come again?
And they're like, "Yeah, no, the flight, the one flight we have going out today is the one flying back to Dallas. So, if you need, you're just gonna have to chill out here." And I was like, "Was there anything to eat here?" And they're like, "No, the sandwich stand just closed." So we ended up sitting in this little tiny airport for like 2.5, 3 hours, just eating out of a vending machine. Then we get through security, and the lady who checked your ticket, I then later saw loading bags on the plane. So it's not a very big airport either.
Yeah, that sounds about the same as St. Paul. There's no vending machine, so.
Oh, bring your own food, huh?
Yeah, there's actually no restaurants on the island or any place to buy food besides the grocery store.
Oh, wow.
That's kind of cool, though.
Yeah.
Makes
Kinda.
for kind of. I guess not for you if you're staying up there, but
Yeah,
for
if you're like, I just want a quick burger.
yeah, like oh my God, can I just not get some McDonald's?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing.
Huh.
There's a post office. There's a bar that's connected to the city building. It's open a couple hours, a few nights a week, and on the weekends. Closed every holiday. And the cannery, the airport, and post office and grocery store. That's about it. There's one gas pump.
Oh wow,
One gas
that's
pump.
awesome.
Awesome.
I can't
Yeah,
wait to make it
that-
up there someday and see this.
Me
So,
too.
so you clearly guide full time all over. You said Michigan, Alaska. How did you get into this? What's your story?
I grew up with my uncle and my grandpa muskie fishing on Lake St. Clair. I actually took my first steps on a boat and been fishing ever since, every weekend and every summer. And then during high school, I started working on charter boats out of Frankfurt for salmon and trout on Lake Michigan, and then did some charter fishing on Lake St. Clair. That's kind of by where I grew up. And then got into duck hunting with some friends when I was about 16, and after that, I worked construction for a couple of years and realized construction wasn't for me, and
Yep.
got my captain's license and started guiding full time on Lake St. Clair, and then went up to Alaska for summer to work because I always wanted to see Alaska, and I got a job at a lodge up there, and been going back up there for the last 8 years now, every summer.
So King Eider Adventures is 8 years old. Is that correct?
No, King Eider Adventures is 3 years old.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, it's relatively new. I met some guys that guided on St. Paul Island for King Eider's, Charlie Somerville, and then later met Russ, and I worked for them a little bit. And when Charlie was talking about selling his business on St. Paul, and I told him I was interested in buying it even before I went to work for him, and then we had a price all worked out, and had investors all lined up, and then he decided he didn't want to sell it for a few years, so then I started my own up there.
Gotcha. So 3 years, pretty successful so far. I mean, you post a lot of pictures. Seems like you have a good amount of hunters.
It is, yeah. Yeah,
Good
last
deal.
year I took 34 hunters. Pretty good.
Is that a is
I
that a
usually
full?
try and take 7 hunters per group.
So 7. So what? 6, 7 groups. How many is that? Is that average? Is that your a full booking for you? Saying you saying it doesn't really get good till end of December in such a short season. Is that many hunters?
Exactly, yeah, that's pretty much when everyone starts up there. It's right around Christmas. Yeah, it's not good before that, at least for the King Eiders.
Gotcha. So
That's about as far south as they winter. They start showing up there around Christmas. They really don't go any further south.
gotcha. Abe, what were you about to say?
So you say they move south. Are they just where do they spend all their summer? All up at the Arctic Circle or something?
Yeah, all around the Arctic, Russia, Greenland, anywhere north of there, anywhere cold.
And they just make their way to Alaska? Or I'm guessing it's just different flyways, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I mean, pretty much St. Paul Island, pretty much the only place you can hunt them in the United States, or even Alaska.
Gotcha. So what all species do you see up there? You mentioned king eiders. What else?
Harlequin and old squaw, or long-tailed ducks. Those are the three main species. Occasionally, you'll get a white-winged scoter, common scoter.
Mm-hmm. So what are bag
a few
limits?
golden eye.
You see some golden eye?
It's pretty much just those three.
Sure. So what are bag limits up there? I mean, we're pretty familiar with Texas bag limits and all our normal ducks, but what are bag limits on
Sure.
those?
Yeah, for non-residents in Alaska, you're allowed 4 of each species of sea duck per season, 7 in combination per day, and 20 per year.
20 per year. Okay, so say Abe, Jordan, and myself come up there to do, like you said, 4 or 5 days with you. We can shoot 4 of each species apiece? Is that
correct?
Gotcha. And do you see pairs often? Because we have a friend who is out in West Texas and does a lot of sandhill crane hunting. He's been up there and hunted sea ducks and had some awesome harlequin mounts and stuff. And he has a pair. And the very few ducks that I have, the want to have a mounted pair of each. But I feel like these ducks are such a unique opportunity that when I get to do it, when I do it, I'd love to be able to get a pair of each. Is that a thing? Is
exactly.
that possible?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, most people want a pair.
Yeah.
At least a pair of each. Except for the harlequin, a lot of people don't get a pair of harlequin. Mm-hmm. But for the king eiders, definitely the majority of the people want a pair, or at least one hen. Same with the old squaw.
Sure. How do these ducks eat? Do you eat any of them? Say I get 4 and I decide the 2 of them to mount. Do we eat the rest?
No. Generally, I tell anyone that it comes up there, they take all the ducks home with them, whatever they shoot. We don't really eat any there. Once you guys harvest the ducks, we'll tag them and put them in a Ziploc bag or 2-gallon Ziploc bag and put a bird ID tag on it with all your information and freeze it in the deep freezer. And then when you go to leave, I tell everyone to bring like a Yeti hopper or a soft-sided cooler like that, and then you load your birds in there and take them as your carry-on. That way they don't get lost in the mail, or you don't have to worry about them. They're with you the whole time.
No, for sure. But I mean, have you eaten these ducks? How do they taste?
I have, yeah. Actually, surprisingly good. My chef cooked up a couple last year, and I'm usually not a big fan of sea ducks, especially in Michigan, but the harlequin actually tasted really good up there. So did the king, so did the old squaw.
Nice. All right.
I don't know if he just was a really good chef and marinated it right, but everyone liked it.
Sure. How big are these ducks? Like compare them, compare them to a, central U.S. normal duck, something flying central Mississippi flyway. What are they average like?
Yeah, the harlequin are like the size of a widgeon.
Okay.
With the old squaw. The king eiders are a little bit bigger than the mallard. Most of them are about 4 pounds, 4 or 5 pounds.
Oh yeah, so that's a decent sized duck.
Yeah.
Because Abe and I both shot some good sized mallards last year and mounted them. Abe's is a giant.
Yeah.
So yeah, thinking of a king being bigger than one of those, like that's cool.
That is. I'd love to see.
Yeah, they're
that's super cool.
And the cool thing about the kings is they're all unique. They all have different sized lobes. Their heads look a little bit different with the lobe on it. Most people think the bigger the lobe, the older the bird, but really it's just genetics. Kind of like deer. Some have bigger lobes, some have smaller lobes.
Sure. So I've looked at your Instagram a good amount. These are clearly miserable conditions. Talk to us about that. Because, we roll out in our surface drive boat.
Especially coming from Texas.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were breaking ice on a local lake last year one morning, and we were like, oh, my gosh, this is so cool. That's never happens. And it was mine. And I say breaking ice. It's because it's in the shallows and it hasn't moved, so it's about a 1/16 of an inch thick.
Okay.
So yeah, talk to us about these hunting conditions.
Yeah, last season it was actually really cold. It was one of the colder years up there and a lot of snow. Generally the conditions, normally it's in the 30s, sometimes low 40s, sometimes high 20s, but generally it's in the 30s. Last year it was cold though. There's lots of days in the teens and single digits. Mm-hmm. The harbor froze up for about a week or 10 days and we couldn't get boats out of the harbor, so we had to beach launch everything or drive the boats in the trucks and push them off the trailer and drag them out to the ocean. But There's a lot of work, put down plastic pallets to get the boats in and out and make things tough. The conditions are brutal up there. It's always windy most of the time. I mean, the average wind's 30 to 40 miles an hour there. I've seen it below 95 before.
Oh my God.
It's brutal
Holy
conditions.
crap.
Yeah.
95 miles an hour.
So we see.
Yep.
So we see. Jordan, were you saying something?
I said it's got to be fun in a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we go out in the boat when we can, but when it's too rough or windy to get out in the boat, then we just hunt from shore.
So I got plenty.
I mean, generally if you come for 4 or 5 days, you get out on the boats 1 or 2.
Gotcha.
Days.
So we see lots of 20s and 30s here in Texas. We're up in the north part. I mean, there's been lots of mornings we've gotten well below freezing. So
sure.
You saying 30s? That's not too bad. Single digits, that sucks.
No.
We'll do.
Yeah,
I can deal with 20s and 30s for sure.
Yeah.
The
20s and 30s on the ocean.
Oh, no, I get that for sure.
That would be the part that
I was thinking like he's gonna say, "Oh yeah, it's 5 degrees and the wind blows 40 miles an hour, so our wind chill's negative 100."
Yeah, exactly. You're like,
yeah, not normally. It's pretty far south. Normally, it's colder in Michigan than it is on St. Paul Island in the winter.
oh wow.
Huh.
Yeah,
You
normally
kind of had that born into you.
Yep. But it still gets brutal, and when it's all volcanic ash and all volcanic sand blowing around, so it gets into your gun and locks everything up, and that salt spray freezes, and when your gun won't work, and it can be miserable. That's for sure.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
So you each evening after the hunt, is everybody giving their guns a scrub just to be safe?
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah. Normally, I tell everyone once they bring in their gun from the hunt, just let it warm up to room temperature for a little bit so you don't get that extra condensation, and then take it under the shower. And normally I'll hose the whole thing down with fresh water in the shower,
yeah,
the barrel, action, everything, then take it apart, wipe it down, and oil it so it doesn't rust, because your guns get covered in salt water every day and sand.
No doubt.
Wow.
Walk us through a day of hunting. So we've hit Anchorage, we've overnighted, we've seen Anchorage, gotten pumped up, got on our charter flight. We've hit St. Paul Island. We get off our charter flight. What's next? Let's talk first.
I pick you guys up at the airport. We head back to the house. I got 2 houses I rent there. One for all the guides and staff and chefs, and then the other one for all the clients to stay at. We get your room. We get you your waiters, whatever size you need. I supply all the waiters for everyone. And
nice.
then boot dryers, and get that situated, get your guns out. And if the weather's decent, then we go out hunting right away. If the weather's nasty, then we just relax, and I'll show you around and get situated and have a hot meal. And then the next morning we'll go hunting.
Gotcha. So next morning we wake up to go hunting.
And then,
how does that look?
Yep. That looks, normally breakfast is around 8 or so, and then I'll go out and scout and drive around the island. The island's really only about 15 miles long. The problem, though, with the wind and snow, a lot of the roads will get drifted up, so you can't drive down them. So I'll see where we can get to. If it's calm enough in front of the harbor, we'll take all the boats to the harbor and launch them there, and then come back and pick you guys up with the trucks and take you guys out to the boats, and then get out there for shooting times, normally around 10:30.
Oh, wow.
We'll get out there a little bit before shooting time. Yep.
Man, compared
And
to
then,
our... No, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, no, you're good.
No,
We
go
set
ahead.
up
Go ahead.
Only about a dozen decoys per string. You don't need a whole lot out there. Put them on a long line and tie them to a boat and drift out in the ocean.
So looking at some of these pictures, these boats don't, if I recall, and please correct me, but they don't look super camouflaged or anything.
No, they're just gray.
Yeah, so that doesn't spook these things off. They're just cruising around. They see the decoys, and they'll decoy in enough. You can blast them.
Exactly. A lot of the old school on Harlequin will decoy great. The King Eiders don't decoy the best. Generally, they're flying where they want to be, and the different points where they feed, where it's shallower, where they can feed on oysters and sea urchins and everything they can get to down there. And then they fly back and forth generally for about the first 2 hours or so. Then it slows down after that. But you we'll just get out there, and they'll start flying before shooting time, and we'll just get in a flight path of them and set out the decoys. And some of them will decoy, some of them will just kind of scoot by the decoys and check them out.
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on what you guys, then depending on what you guys want to shoot, normally the guide that morning will talk to you and find out if you want a hen or if you want all drakes. And then when the birds are flying by, they'll let you know if that's a mature hen or a mature drake, or if it's a juvenile. Usually no one wants a juvenile bird, so all the guides will be like, that's a mature drake in the front or second bird or the last bird. You don't want to flock shoot these birds because you're only allowed 4, so you want to wait till they separate a little bit, or one's in the lead or one's in the back.
Sure.
Yeah, because you definitely don't want to. That's probably a pretty expensive ticket.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. And you don't want to be going home, with a juvenile bird. You want mature birds to mount.
Way cooler to have a big-ass bird versus, a
child.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shooting a whitetail fawn's not that cool either.
They're pretty picky with their shots.
Yeah.
In line, I always recommend, a good shotgun shell, either tungsten or bismuth, something that's actually going to kill them. You don't want to be bringing steel out there and crippling them and chasing them around in big waves and in the sea and lose any.
Yeah.
Sure. I had those questions coming next, but let's continue the progression of the hunt. We get on the water, you said about 10:30, which is crazy because here in Texas, we're leaving our house at 3 o'clock in the morning, driving an hour, boating an hour, and sun up and shooting lights at 6, if I recall. And so
Exactly.
So is that because it's not, I know, because I know it's so far north, your light's so much different. Is that shooting hour a mandated thing, or is that just because that's shooting light?
That's shooting light.
Oh, wow.
That's when the sun comes up.
Man, that sounds like a vacation.
Dude,
I mean, besides the cold,
nice.
the time frame for sure. You said breakfast at 8, and I was like,
you get lots of rest.
By 8, we were hoping to have shot a handful of ducks.
Yeah.
So we get out there at 10:30. We get on the water. How long are these birds flying? Is it a morning flight and then a big pause, or is it kind of flying until you're done shooting?
No, it's pretty much only a morning flight. They get up first thing in the morning and fly around for about the first 2 hours, and then they sit down and pretty much sit there the rest of the day.
Gotcha. And you said they're feeding on oysters and sea urchins, so are they moving towards somewhat shallows? How deep will these things dive to eat?
Oh, they can dive a long ways. I mean, they found old spar long-tail ducks in nets down 280 feet.
Whoa.
So they can go a long ways. Yeah.
Dive down 280 feet.
Yes.
It's amazing. You would think that the pressure would crush the duck.
You would think. Yeah, they're tough birds. I mean, you'll go out there when it's rough and nasty and hunting from shore, and you'll see 15, 20-foot waves just breaking, and they're sitting there right where they're breaking, just taking it, having a good old time.
Wow, that's crazy.
I no idea. And this stuff like this is exactly why, we wanted to talk to you. We have no idea. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So you fly for a couple hours, guides make the call like, no, we're, done, flight's done. So we run the boats back in.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time it'll be, 2 hunters and one guide per boat. And most of the time the first morning, you can limit out on your kings and hopefully a couple Harlequin or a couple old squaws, get your 7 ducks and be happy.
So the bag limit thing, you can shoot 7 a day, but you can shoot 4 of each species a year. Is that
correct?
Okay. So gotcha.
Yeah. So like your first day, if you wanted to shoot, most guys want to concentrate on the king eiders first,
sure.
Because that's the only place you can get them. And so they'll shoot, their 4 king eiders or 3 king eiders or 2 if they just want a pair to take home.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll go after some Harlequin or old squaw in a little different location, or because normally the Harlequin are closer to shore, more the reef points and right on the edges, so you can get your Harlequin and old squaw.
Gotcha. All right, so we said a couple hours flying. Let's call it 12:30, 1 o'clock. We're boating back. We get the boats out of the water. Rest day, we're just chilling at the house, the lodge, whatever. Or is there an evening hunt or?
Yeah, if you shot all your birds, if you still want to go back out, then the chef, once we get back, he'll have a hot bowl of soup, some homemade soup ready, and usually some homemade bread and maybe some cookies. Get something good to eat, warm up for a little bit, and then we can go back out. We can drive around the island and try and look at the caribou or beachcomb or.
Nice.
There's a little museum. It takes about 10 minutes to walk through, but it's kind of cool to see. Go to a grocery store, the beer store, grab some beer if you guys want some, or we can go sit on the rocks and try and shoot, a Harlequin or 2 in the afternoon.
Oh.
Or if people still need a king and the weather's good, then we can go back out on the boat.
Gotcha. So we've talked about boat hunting. You said you run the string of decoys, tie after the boat. How are you anchoring these decoys? I mean, because clearly if they're diving at 280, you're probably hunting in pretty deep water. Are you dropping a weight that far, or are you just tying off the boat and letting them drift?
Nope. You're just tying off the boat and drifting.
Okay.
You aren't anchoring. The current's ripping around the island too.
Sure.
The current's really strong.
And the current and the waves will keep the decoy string pulled out in front of you or wherever?
Correct.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So so let's say that's first morning. Second morning, weather's gross, can't launch the boats. We're going to hunt from shore. How does that look?
Yep. Then we'll do the same thing. We'll eat breakfast, and maybe half hour, 45 minutes before shooting time, it depends on where we're going to go on the island, which direction the wind is. Sometimes it might take 45 minutes to get to a spot if we're going up to the opposite end of the island by Sea Lion Neck or any of those places, and then go sit on the rocks and wait for shooting time, and we'll sit just high enough so we stay dry until the waves breaking. And then when we hunt from shore, we can only hunt where the current and the waves are going to bring the birds to shore. So it limits us
Sure.
to what areas we can hunt, because we don't want to shoot anything and lose it. I'll throw out a log or a bumper and make sure it's going to float into shore before we start shooting birds, because we don't want to lose any.
No doubt. So
it's not. I doubt it's the kind of place you want to just go wading out into the water.
If you can.
You can.
Yeah. So I'm going to make a guess that there are no dogs involved.
No, actually, St. Paul Island, they don't allow any dogs on the island, period.
Huh.
You can't have like your own personal pet?
Nope, you can't have a pet dog on the island.
Why is that?
I wish I could bring my dog. I miss her for that time, but it's because it's the biggest seal and sea lion breeding area, and seals and sea lions are in the canine family, and they don't want any rabies or any disease brought in, and they don't want them harassing the seals and sea lions when they're trying to breed and have babies and all that.
Who doesn't want a black lab sea lion hybrid?
Dude.
Exactly. That'd be sweet. That'd be the best retriever there is.
Totally.
Yeah.
Have a couple
He's got
fins
weird legs,
and a couple
but he
legs.
swims like a Dickens.
Yeah. You have to chuck him in the water, but after that, he's good to go.
Great for cripples.
Exactly.
Exactly. Oh, man.
my God.
So, we've hunted from shore. We've hunted from the boat. We're not hunting dogs. Abe was about to ask earlier. You said, good solid bismuth or tungsten shell. What are we shooting at these? 3.5-inch BB, number 2, number 1?
No, with bismuth, I like number 5s,
Wow.
number 4s to number 6s with bismuth. With tungsten, like the apex shells, I'll run like 7s, 9s, or the 7-9 mix. With like the bosses, I like the 3-5 mix is one of my favorite rounds, or the number 5s.
Interesting, because down here for these big mallards, man, we're shooting 3.5-inch 2s just to put them in the dirt.
Yeah, for steel though.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
That's steel. So, you know what? We I think we've had this conversation with somebody else. So you think bismuth and tungsten is just that much better?
It is. Well, you can use a smaller shot size and get a
bigger
lot
pattern.
more BBs in that pattern, so you kill the birds.
Mm-hmm.
And the bismuth or tungsten carries the energy and velocity, and it'll go a lot farther than the steel. Like a lot of these times, I mean, most of the times with the king eiders, a lot of their shots are 40 to 70 yards. I mean, I've seen guys shoot them 80, 90 yards with the tungsten shells and break both their wings, and their head goes back, and they're stone dead.
And they're bigger than a mallard.
Yes.
And they're shooting, say that again, what size shells are they shooting?
7s or 9s. I've seen people shoot the tungsten 9s at 90 yards and kill them stone dead.
Oh, my
Holy
gosh.
crap!
I'm going to buy a box of tungstens this year and do some sniping on
Just
ducks. Because
put
we're
some
shooting ducks.
down.
We're letting them pass and shooting
Yeah.
at 15, 20 yards.
Right. Those tungsten shells are usually $4 or $5 a shell, though.
Yeah.
If you go with the Boss Bismuth, I mean, you can get them for $25 or $28 a box, and they're almost as good.
Boss bismuth, all right. Because there's a draw hunt we drew last year we loved. If we draw it again this year, I'm gonna draw it. I'm gonna buy bismuth and just murk things.
Just put them down. In
Put
the
them
dirt.
down. Put them down.
Yeah. The main thing is you don't lose near as many birds. You know, with steel, you cripple them a lot, and they're still alive.
sure.
With the bismuth or tungsten, you kill them a lot easier because you have that many more pellets in that shot size.
No
To hit
doubt.
them in the head or break wings, and more pellets in the vitals. It kills them a lot easier.
That's really good to know. For that kind of hunt and getting up there and spending the money and travel and stuff, yeah, $4 or $5 a shell is
is.
worth
Yeah,
every
it's worth
penny.
it.
For
Yeah.
sure.
That's definitely worth it.
No doubt. But coming out here to shoot
It's not
mallards.
like you're shooting. Yeah, you aren't shooting decoy mallards at 20 or 30 yards.
Exactly.
Coming in on a string.
Exactly.
That's crazy, man.
So, tell us. I'm sure you have piles of them, but tell us some stories, some crazy stories. Tell us some interesting things that have happened. You've been doing guiding, and I'm not talking just sea duck hunting. You've been guiding. You've been spent so much time on the water, doing all these things. What are some of the craziest things you've seen? That's what people always like to hear. Crazy stories.
Oh. Some of them aren't probably appropriate for the podcast.
Oh no,
but
they are.
I've
I
seen some
promise.
crazy
Because
stories.
if you haven't listened to our podcast before, I promise it's appropriate.
yeah, we are the definition of inappropriate. So
Okay.
You can say whatever you want.
yeah,
Promise you.
Okay.
Whatever you're comfortable saying, I'll say.
he's like,
You're a
I don't know
you're,
what I want to say.
you're a business
Yeah.
owner. Whatever you want to say as a professional business owner, because we are at best semi-professional podcast.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I had fishing a couple years ago. I had a kid that was maybe 12 years old crap his pants, and it's just running down his leg and all over the boat and smearing it all over.
Oh,
Everyone
why?
was gagging and choking and throwing up. It was terrible.
What happened? Just stomach problem, or didn't tell anybody
I
he
guess.
needed to go?
He didn't tell anyone. He was just walking around like that. And everyone's like, what's that smell? Running down his shoe, his leg.
Oh, that's
Running down the
hilarious.
You just like you swim now.
Yeah, jump in the lake, buddy.
Yeah, it was-
Jump in the. You're not getting in my truck. I don't care how much you paid to be here.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, nothing like a poop story.
What else has
that's always
happened?
good.
Always
So,
a good one.
Last year on St. Paul, we were driving the truck. I had a couple clients, and I dropped a guide and another client off at a point, and we left them, and we're driving down the road, and then right next to a road, a duck flies up, like out of a ditch, and the guy's like, I think that was a mailer. So, yeah, it might have been. And then about 5 or 10 minutes later, my buddy, because we always have radios, we always carry ship to shore or VHF radios, and so we can talk to each other on the island because there's not really cell phones or service. I have a GCI phone that works right in town, but we always carry the radios so we can communicate with everyone. And then he goes, yeah, we just shot a greenhead. So we kicked up the duck driving down the road, and they shot it. It flew right to him.
Nice.
Interesting.
That was the only greenhead I've seen on St. Paul.
Yeah, that's pretty far north for them, isn't it?
Yeah. There are some Lucian teal that stay there. There's a couple of freshwater lakes on the island, and if they don't freeze up, the teal stay there, else they'll stay in the harbor.
What's the chance of if you come up there getting an afternoon on them?
Yeah, if freshwater ponds aren't frozen, then you got a pretty good chance you can walk up and jump shoot them or try and sneak up on them. But normally they don't fly out in the ocean. But I have seen them sleeping in the rocks in the ocean. We've jump shot a couple that way.
Interesting.
That's crazy.
So-
I'm a Lucian teal.
Google it.
Sorry, Jordan, go ahead.
I was gonna say with
Yeah, they're about
crazy
it's a
stories,
subspecies of the green wing. They're just about 30% bigger, and they got a extra white speculum on their wing.
Jordan, what were you saying?
Yeah, I was wondering, with all these conditions you're talking about, what's the percentage of people that are that get there and in the boat and they're like, you know what, just take me back, I'm done. It's cold.
Yeah, no, almost everyone that goes up there knows what they're getting into. Especially if they talk to me, I'll tell them what they're getting into first. Because it is brutal up there, and pretty much everyone that goes up there knows what to expect and knows what they're getting into.
No doubt.
That's crazy.
I've looked around your website some, and you give a lot of information of like bring this, bring that. This is what you're dealing with. So yeah, people shouldn't be super surprised. Have you had any of those incidents where it's just people horribly unprepared or just can't deal with it, and just don't hunt as hard as you think they could have?
No, I mean pretty much everyone sticks it out there as long as they can, even if they are freezing. Because I mean, generally we're only out there for a couple hours, at a time.
Sure.
I mean, you just tough it out till you get back and warm up once you get back. Or if we're hunting from the rocks or whatever and you get cold, there's plenty of people, to take the truck back and take you back to the lodge and to warm up. Or go sit in the truck and warm up. I don't want anyone to suffer, but I mean, pretty much whenever they're on the boat, they don't even think about being cold because there's so many ducks flying around and they've never seen king eiders like that, and just the whole view and scenery and the whole experience of it. I mean, most people don't say anything about being cold.
No doubt.
Man, those ducks are awesome looking.
Yeah, I pulled up your website, and I'm doing a screen share for Abe and Jordan, who are on the Zoom call and video, just to remind them of how badass these sea ducks are. And this picture of St. Paul you have on here on your typical day, man, that's just a gorgeous little sea town.
Yeah, like it's the epitome.
It is, yeah. It's the actual spot where everyone lives, probably about a mile circle in the downtown, and there's pretty much nothing else outside that mile circle around the whole island. It's just sand roads and dirt roads that go out little 2 tracks around the island, and a lot of times you can't get down most of them.
Wow.
Because the sand will blow in. If it's real windy, the sand will cover the road and you'll get stuck in the sand, or the snow will cover the road and you'll get stuck in the snow.
For sure.
Oh my God. Wow. And just as far as growing up and hunting, I mean, you grew up in Michigan, obviously. Were ducks always your passion, or did you, gravitate towards deer, and then just kind of found your way to ducks, or?
Yeah, I started out with deer hunting because my dad deer hunted, and then as soon as I got into duck hunting, I gave up deer hunting, and I mean, I'll go out every once in a while and maybe shoot a doe just for meat in the freezer. But my real passion is duck hunting, or I love upland hunting too. I love taking my daughter out some woodcock hunting. She loves it. Any type of bird hunting.
Yeah, Jordan has gone down the deep dark hole of upland, and is I feel like your passion for that has grown pretty significantly over the last couple of years.
Yeah, when you spend all the money on a dog for it, you gotta have to have the passion for it.
Exactly. Yep.
Man, dude, these gut ducks are so gorgeous. It's so crazy to me.
So you were talking earlier about, did I hear you right that you said you provide waders for people?
I do. Yeah, I have all gator waders there. They're all brand new last season.
And those kind of conditions.
Regular sizes in king and 8 to 14s.
In those kind of conditions, how long do you get out of a set of waders? 2 seasons, 3 seasons?
Yeah, because, I mean, the season's so short.
Yeah.
You're only really wearing them for 4 weeks at a time. But, I mean, the rocks and sand's tough on them. I mean, you get a couple seasons out of them.
Gotcha. So what, looking at your hunt schedule here, which you already kind of went over, you know, up at 7:30, breakfast at 8, on the water around 10:30, 6 p.m. dinner. What time does sun go down since it's up so late? Is it a short day or is it a long day, sunlight-wise?
It's short. Yeah, normally it goes down around 5:30 or so.
Oh, wow. So you've got daylight for 7 hours?
Yeah, 6 to 7 hours.
So you said you're going up there right now, or you told me the 13th we had to get this podcast in by. So you're going up there in a couple days here to do fishing guiding, and come back to Michigan for a bit, and then go back up there in November, you said?
Yeah, I'll go back up there beginning of December.
Beginning of December, and just prep for 3 weeks? Get everything good?
Yeah. Spend a couple days in Anchorage and get all the grocery shopping done and supply shopping and ship it all over.
Gotcha. Do you have to scout for these birds? You get up there early doing scouting, or it's just they're going to be in the area and you just need to get out there in a boat and find them?
Yeah, pretty much. The main thing's the weather, where you can hunt. It doesn't matter if you find them and the weather's too bad, you can't hunt them. Or the side where they got to blow into shore if you're hunting from shore. So you got to kind of hunt where you can actually be able to retrieve the birds, or where it's actually physically possible to hunt. But, I mean, there's tons of birds up there. When they're there, they're there.
For sure. For sure. When people get these birds and then they take them back with them, do you have a taxidermist you recommend that specialize in these birds?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few, and any of the real good taxidermists do a good job with them. It kind of depends on what you're looking for. Pat Millhop's real good, or Shane Smith, or Corey. All those guys are good. Shane's probably one of the best guys with a habitat for ice and snow work and rock work, if you wanted something like that. But Pat Millhop at Four Seasons Taxidermy does a good job.
Gotcha. With you being up there so much, you know, we're talking about caribou and not having deer hunted much. You ever caribou hunted? You ever moose or elk? Any big ungulates?
Yeah, there's about usually 300 to 350 caribou on St. Paul Island. Sometimes I'll get a tag to shoot one for meat, especially if I get up there early enough where I can get one. So they're pretty good eating up there. And then, I mean, that's about all that's on the island is the reindeer, caribou. They call them both.
Sure.
And then there's some Arctic fur fox. They're actually like they almost look black. They're like a dark blue, dark gray. There's a few white ones. And then just the seals and sea lions on the island, and like a bunch of birds during the summer. It's one of the biggest bird watching destinations. People come from all over the world to bird watch there.
Is it possible to trap or hunt those fur foxes? Are they protected, or?
No, it's possible to. The locals don't like you to, though. A lot of the locals raise them as like pets and feed them right at their front door and have them named, and it's kind of like their pets because they aren't allowed any dogs.
Interesting.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't live somewhere I couldn't have a dog.
Crazy,
Right.
man.
So you leave your dog back in Michigan, obviously, with friends and family, or?
Yeah, I leave her with my mom when I go.
Yeah. That sucks, but makes sense, right? It makes sense.
It does.
I mean, in one particular spot to have that, but it just seems. This is like, since Austin started talking about this is one of those things I'm like, man, to go shoot one of these ducks would be so much fun.
Dude, let's put a deposit down.
It is, yeah. It's so much different than any other type of waterfowl hunting. And it's cool, too. I mean, if you watch the show Deadliest Catch, all those crab boats come into St. Paul to unload their crab during the season, and you get to see the Northwestern and Sid and meet a lot of those guys when they're uploading their crab. I know a lot of them, and I'll go talk to them, and they'll let us take a tour of the crab boat and show us around, and
Man,
usually all pretty nice.
Pretty
that's
cool.
awesome.
Pretty rad.
Do you do much? Do you catch any crabs up there yourself? Just kind of like for just yourself to
No,
eat?
I don't.
Yeah.
No, I don't have any time. No, we'll buy some from the cannery sometimes if they have any king crab left, or during that season they're bringing in the snow crab.
Where is my snow crab's good, king crab's great. It's just so expensive down here. I'm not sure up there, obviously, but I really enjoy Dungeness crab. Where's that harvested? I don't even know.
I don't know either.
Maybe it's not that far north. I don't know. Compared to Michigan, are food or grocery prices more up there since everything has to be shipped in? You know what?
Yeah, way more.
Way more?
Yep.
Yeah, for
Facts.
sure.
Yeah, about triple
Yep.
usually the price in Michigan. Quadruple.
So what's a loaf of bread? What's a loaf of bread on St. Paul Island cost?
I think it's around $6 for a loaf. A gallon of milk's like $12. Bag of Doritos like $9 or $10. A normal bag of Doritos.
Yep.
Do you just bring like a bag full of groceries yourself, like all of the things like that you can from home?
Well, in Anchorage,
It's better in
I usually try to
Anchorage?
get to Anchorage and back off and then do a big food order and ship it over.
Gotcha. Sounds like I've never been to Alaska, but Hawaii is similar. You know, it's an island; everything has to be shipped in. Things are expensive there, but they're not that expensive. There's probably because there's a bit huge port. Things are going in and out all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
probably I bet it's easier to get to Hawaii than it is to get to that place.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
a lot easier. It's just more expensive, and it's funny there in Hawaii. You can buy, and we're off subject, and we'll get back, but you can buy Japanese beer cheaper than American beer because it's closer.
I believe it.
Kira and
Yeah, I think
Ichiban,
it's
every time we've gone.
around $60 on St. Paul.
Say that again?
The case of beer is around $60 on St. Paul.
Whew.
We be broke.
Yeah. Like you're looking at your hunt pricing here. Like we're gonna spend the same amount on booze.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, you can buy beer on the island, but you can't buy any liquor. The bar doesn't even serve any liquor. Beer only.
So can you check in your bag? Can you bring a couple bottles of whiskey in so you can just chill at the house?
Yep, you can bring it.
That's our ticket,
Why-
boys.
Yeah, why not any liquor on the island? Just
I'm not
Those
exactly
rules?
sure the whole reasoning, but
yeah.
probably not all the problems, and they don't want too much there.
Yeah,
There's really only there's like 420 people that live there all year. It's a small town.
Yeah, that's 420 people. That's pretty. It's pretty tight quarters.
It's nobody.
It is.
So do you have the same just an agreement with some landlords of the same two houses you rent every year? Like those are yours from December through January?
Yeah, it's kind of different each year. Sometimes they'll move me around a little bit or switch houses up. It's really whatever they have available and whatever the locals don't have rented.
Sure.
Or if someone needs a house and they rent it to the locals first, and then we get last pick.
Sure. Is primary heat source gas? Is it electric? Are we wood fired stoves? How does that work on such a small tract of existence?
Mostly it's boiler systems with
Gotcha.
diesel fuel,
Oh,
or
wow.
for electricity they have tree or those big wind turbines
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to make a lot of electricity for the whole island.
Interesting. What other cool facts are there about St. Paul Island and sea ducks?
It was one of the biggest seal fur
Uh-huh.
trades around. They used to harvest like 5,000 seals there a day.
A day.
Yeah, that's kind of. Most people think they bought Alaska for the oil, but actually St. Paul Island paid for most of it with the seal fur trading.
Interesting. I definitely did not know that.
Yeah, a lot of the locals, they would take them from different islands and bring them out there, and it was almost kind of like they would almost enslave them to like 1980. They would still do it for the seal fur.
Just seal harvesting nonstop.
Yep.
What is seal fur
Exactly.
used for?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What's seal fur used for primarily?
I think coats. A lot of coats and fur coats, and I don't know what it was used for back then, but I think that's a lot of it.
Gotcha.
Mitts, hats, gloves.
Clothes to keep you warm when it's cold out.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, it's very much.
No doubt.
Oh man, I can't even imagine. Being that cold frightens me. It's that's crazy cold weather, but
Yeah, it's generally not too cold, but it's the wind it gets you.
yeah.
I mean, most years it's in the 30s or low 40s, and then you might get a week or two of 20s. But last year it was very cold and we had lots of snow. But generally it's in the 30s most of the time.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not too bad. So what's it like in the summer? You say it's a bird watching destination, so say in June, July, whenever summer is, August. What's high temps?
Yeah, in the summer it'll barely hit 60 during the hottest time. Most years, like the record's like 62, 63, 64 for the warmest day of the year.
It was about 180 degrees today in Texas.
It was legitimately my truck thermostat, whatever, thermometer. It showed 102 today at one point.
Yep. It was brutally hot today
Yeah.
outside. So
And then we'll get down to 20.
yeah.
Texas, they said. It'll be fun, they said.
Yep.
Yep.
Michigan's about the same, but not quite that hot. It was in the 90s here today.
Yep.
You ever make it? Have you ever been to Texas or made it down this far?
I have. I haven't done any hunting down there, though.
Change that.
Well, if you ever do or want to, man, we've got a place that's got corn throwers that have pigs under it every night. You want to come shoot pigs and cook pigs and drink some beers during the summer or when your off season is?
Yeah.
You let us know. You have an open invite.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We can
Yeah,
get you on the
fun.
pigs
I've
for
never
sure.
pig hunted.
Yeah, we can get you on the pigs, no doubt.
Yeah, and if you guys ever want to come up to Michigan, I run layout boat hunts on Lake St. Clair in Michigan for canvasbacks and redheads, greater scalp, lesser scalp, goldeneye, bufflehead, ruddy duck. Get a good mix of divers on Lake St. Clair.
Man, I'd love to have a ruddy. I had a bufflehead trio that I chased around down here all last season and never got them. But a ruddy, I've never seen a ruddy. That'd be cool.
Yeah, we have lots of bufflehead here and ruddy ducks.
We see a lot of canvasbacks and redheads down on the coast down here. They winter down there, I guess.
Nice.
But people say they just pile up.
Sure.
Well, man, we super appreciate you joining us and educating us about all things northern and sea duck and hunting Alaska and all of that. It's a pleasure. It makes me want to come that much more.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Jordan, you got anything
Yeah,
else?
there's a couple of videos on YouTube that explain the hunting, and I'll show you the conditions and ways. I'm sure you guys have seen them, and then on Instagram and Facebook.
Yep, we definitely have seen your Instagram. So for everybody listening, why don't you go ahead and shamelessly self-promote every place they can get a hold of you?
Okay. Yeah, KingEiderAdventures.com or King Eider Adventures on Instagram or King Eider Adventures on Facebook. And then for Michigan, it's MI Guide Service.
M-I?
All the same three. MI is in Michigan, and then Guide Service.
Perfect.
.com or on Facebook, Instagram, same thing.
Yes, sir. Well, all right. Yet again, Jeremy, we appreciate the conversation. Appreciate your time. It's been fun. Thank you again.
Yeah, looking forward to meeting you guys one day. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
You were on our list to get up there, and you have an open invite and lodging in Texas. If you ever get down here, let us know.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Stormwater Creek is the best. Grinch, the captain. Aim, the helper. Jordan, the problem solver. I hope you like Stormwater Creek. Stormwater Creek.